But I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to talk crew. I feel every time I just say crew, I feel like the longest yard. Crew! One of those Ed Lauder yelling at Burt Reynolds. Sorry, that's a dated reference. It's the original movie. It's not the new one that Adam Sandler destroyed. It's the original. We're bringing our buddy Chris Doran to talk everything crew. How you doing, brother?
Good to see you, John. I love the reference. That's perfect. I was going to do a Zsa Zsa Gabor reference, if that means anything to you.
Absolutely, it does, darling. That is just how it goes with the crew.
Was she married 8 times? Because I feel like at least one of her marriages lasted just as long as Wilfried Nancy's stint with Celtic.
Bang! All right, I'm checking. I'm trying to figure out the Gabor sisters and how many marriages we have here. Apparently, Zsa Zsa, darling. Let's see. Born in Budapest, in Austria-Hungary in 1917. Died the age of 99. Holy crap! 3, 6, 9 marriages.
Yeah.
Wow. 6 years, 5 years to Conrad Hilton, 5 years George Sanders, 4 years Herbert Huttner, year to Joshua Cosden Jr., year to Jack Ryan. I don't know if it was that Jack Ryan.
I don't think it's that Jack Ryan.
Michael O'Hara for 6 years, had a marriage annulled in 1983, and then wrapped up with Frederick Prinz von Anhalt. I remember that one from 86. And so she was married to him for like 30 years.
So no 33-day marriages.
No, but 30. It's like 9 marriages. Man, but I don't know. This Felipe de Alba annulment might have been 30 days, actually. And see, now you got me thinking about it here. Okay, hang on. Oh, okay. So the Felipe de Alba marriage with Zsa Zsa Gabor was annulled the next day.
Thank you. That's terrific stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm great. Nice to see you, John. Thanks for having me on the show.
A couple of things that we wanted to get into. Obviously, I needed to consult my local Columbus Oracle about Wilfried Nancy. I wanted to get into Wilfried. I wanted to get into Rydstrom. I wanted to get into training camp, which is coming up around the corner, on season, off season, all the things. So what's the vibe been like in Columbus after Nancy got screwed?
I mean, I haven't really stepped into the waters too much. Social media is really where you see most of the activity, and there's just there's literally and figuratively a sea dividing the passionate Celtic fan base and a Columbus Crew MLS fan base that understands what Wilfried has been able to do in the last 5 years in Major League Soccer. So, on the one hand, I don't want to talk about it. On the other hand, I can't help but I don't know, get emotionally involved, at least on my walks every day, in debating what went wrong there. And I think it was just a series of things that was never going to sort itself out in the short term, and everyone got impatient and pulled the plug on it.
I mean, it's what we have been focusing on when it comes to the idea is that you have a league in the SPFL, and the responses on the media that is social from those fans over there. Oh, MLS, you can't compete with SPFL and Scotland and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, bro, dial it back about 19 notches. You need to come back to reality, and we'll talk. But the idea that Nazi couldn't handle the SPFL. He could, excuse me, what? He couldn't handle the SPFL. It's just the hubris at times drives you crazy about stuff like this when you don't want to understand what is going on there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I will say, and I don't know when the last time was that you had to pay for a ticket to get into a soccer game. I have to sometimes remind myself that I don't devote a part of my household budget to season tickets. Mm-hmm. I get to see all the games on a media pass, and those people who dedicate a part of their annual budget to purchasing tickets and supporting their team are entitled to a certain, I think, sense of ownership. Maybe they claim too much, but I think they're entitled to this feedback that the club has gotten that, hey, this is not working out. This is not working out. And we're growing increasingly tired of watching these results. To a certain point, I think there have to be smart, principled people in leadership who say, I understand, I get it, but we've made a decision here that we actually think is going to work long term. So you got to work with us a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like after 8 games and 6 losses, they either someone chickened out, or they truly realized that it wasn't going to get better anytime soon. Or, to be honest with you, we're going into the January trade window. They're not going to be able to find the talent or pay the talent to make Wilfried's system work. So, the flip side is I don't know who's in Wilfried's ear. He's taking this job mid-season. They're coming off of Martin's success in a stretch of 7 or 8 games as an interim coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm a decision maker, and I know this is hindsight, I don't let Wilfried near the building until Martin starts to lose some games.
Yeah.
And you throw the whole kitchen sink at Martin and say, look, stick with us through June. And Wilfried will pay you for 6 months to sit on the sideline, and we'll make this switch in the summer. That may have been the play for everybody that would have come out a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, again, I don't know all the inner workings. I do feel bad for the season ticket holders at Celtic because I do think they're entitled to a certain amount of feedback that they can offer that's legit. I also have come to learn a little bit more about the Celtic, the firm rivalry, the Celtic Rangers.
Oh, old firm.
Yeah, the way they essentially own Scottish Premier League soccer. And, it's ingrained in the households. If my wife and I got up and moved to Kansas City, I'd become a Sporting Kansas City fan in a heartbeat. I still love the Crew, but want to support my home team. For those folks who have been in Glasgow forever, and a whole line of family members who have similarly been in that position, you're taught about the Protestants and Catholics. You're taught about you're taught about the politics of it all. You're taught about the two teams in a way that I don't know that we really get that here. You can equate it to maybe you can equate it to the dog pound in Cleveland, NFL teams, I'm thinking. And I don't know much about the NFL, but in terms of fan bases, there are guys that have passed on family season tickets for decades. But it's not quite the same here. And so I grant the passion a little bit of leeway for Celtic fans.
I look at what we were staring at with the front office. I don't know if we will ever get the answer to this question. I don't know if Wilfried would, talk out of school or anything like that. But what did they tell you going in?
Yeah.
Did they say, okay, we'll be patient with you. We understand you're coming in medias res. You can have a couple of windows here. I mean, dude didn't even get a window. It's like Bob Bradley at Swansea, where Bradley got the tablecloth pulled out from under him and all the glassware goes everywhere. I mean, it was just, I'd love to know what they told him going in. Hey, we'll give you A, B, C, D, or E. And then did they just sit there and go, nah, this ain't working, buyer's remorse or whatever?
That's a really good point. And I agree with you. I don't think Wilfried's going to be the guy who's going to breach any of that presumed secrecy behind closed doors. I don't know how often you've worked with boards of directors, but I think that's also a complication too. You have some people around the table who are in your camp and some people who will never be in your camp.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real tough scenario to deal with. So all in all, a tough thing. But I think you and I, John, can both agree that Wilfried and his staff are going to land on their feet at some point, and it may be as soon as another 2 months. We got a couple teams that maybe in some league are going to be relegated come May or June. And they say, let's make the coaching switch now, and then let's go into the summer and find the right players.
And Jason came up with this idea, and I wish that Bowley Clear Lake had been a little more patient, and I mean that by like a day or two. Gary O'Neill is going to be the new head coach at Strasbourg. I would have loved, and when Jason brought this up, I'm like, that's the play.
Wow.
Well, for Nancy to Strasbourg, while they were, because if with Liam Rosenior going to Chelsea from Strasbourg. That meant that Strasbourg was open. You take Wilfried and put him at Strasbourg. I think that would have been epic. And I'm like,
Wow.
Jason, that would have been great. But that's like Gary O'Neill's going in, and you're like, Gary O'Neill, really? But no, that would have been the thing that would have triggered. And you're like, yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it would have put to rest the debate over whether or not Wilfried is prepared for that kind of assignment, which I think he is, by the way. And I just think that it was just a trash fire of a lot of different circumstances that were out of his control.
And it's still on fire, by the way. It's like, it's almost, to say it's a dumpster fire is almost an insult to dumpsters at this point.
Yeah. I love that.
So because of the absence of Wilfried Nancy heading to Celtic, that meant that Columbus ends up getting a new man in charge. And it's I think about a week old now that Henrik Rydstrom comes over from hit me real quick. It's like, where's he?
From Sweden.
Thank you. Yes, that country. So you end up with Henrik Rydstrom coming over from Malmö. And so you get Rydstrom coming in. What's the early returns on Rydstrom dropping by?
Oh, enthusiastic. General Manager Issa Tall, I think, took his time with this one. We had talked to him right after the third game against Cincinnati, and I had lunch with him actually, and asked him, "Are you getting interest from around the world?" Because the whole idea behind Columbus being what it is that the extension is that it becomes a worldwide brand in soccer, and Issa didn't even hesitate. Absolutely, word from around the world, from agents mostly, with clients who are interested. And so I don't think this is, I think we're going to find out. We haven't had the introductory press conference yet, but I think we're going to find out that this was probably something that was in the behind the curtains going on for a bit. I don't think Rydstrom just dropped in on October 30th or November 7th and said, "Hey, this sounds like a good idea." I think he's been on the radar for a while. Issa told us that as much, that the search had been going on because Wilfried had been flirting with the possibility of leaving, or had been given some interest from other clubs, I should say. I don't know that he was flirting with leaving. So General Manager Issa Tall went to work, months ago on this. But Henrik comes in with an immediate and very local history, not local, but recent history of championships. He's won the league a couple of times. He's not coached outside of Sweden, which is very interesting to me. But I think he's a guy who will take a roster that has a dozen players who have recent history in championships in the MLS Cup in 23 and Leagues Cup last year, plus Wasim Abu Ali, our recently signed designated player up front, who has recent history in 2 Egyptian Premier League banners, as well as a scoring title in that league. And you got a pretty high caliber mix from the coaching staff on down. And I'm really enthusiastic about that. And candidly, I'm kind of excited about something new. I'm kind of excited about. I've watched a little bit of tape, and thanks to the Crew supporters who have posted tape of the way Unrik's teams have played. A little bit of 4 in the back. We've been playing 3 in the back for a while, but the winger's getting forward, and I am confident that if you look at our roster right now, and I know ads are coming, but our roster right now is equipped to play 4 in the back and get wingers forward. And that's kind of exciting to me.
Because what you don't want is that 180-degree switch that we've seen in other places, where if you've got a system and it has certain characteristics, you want somebody that can be, for lack of a better phrase, Nazi adjacent. And
yes.
And so it's like you take what you take what you've seen and what you know, and if somebody can sit there and go, "Yeah, I do that, but here's my little twist on it," instead of sitting there and going, "Well, no, I believe in low block, and we're just going to put 19 behind the ball," kind of a thing. So you want somebody that can kind of twist what you've had and add to it, as opposed to pulling away from it and being completely different with the roster that you got.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think he's going to be I have come to this conclusion that he might be a little overwhelmed with the level of talent the Crew roster's got, in the sense that Wilfried did stay close to his principle that he wanted his players to be able to play in 2 spots minimum on the field. It's one of the reasons why we got away with Sean Zawatsky as a center back.
Yeah.
And in that thinking, we developed players. I didn't. Wilfried Nancy and his staff did develop players that have a toolbox that's pretty broad. In that, then you have tactical flexibility. Does that mean you come out with 3 in the back in one game and 4 in the back in the other? I don't really know. I don't know if Henrik's going to do that. I think what you do know is that when you put Steven Moreira at outside right back in a 4-back system, you can count on him getting forward. And just coaching him in the moments when it's time to do that, you're going to get a lot of quality. So that's just an example, but I'm really positive, at least upbeat about what we could potentially see from the Crew this year.
You mentioned a healthy Wessam Abu Ali. There's also a recent move with Sekou Bangor coming in from Hapoel Irani Kiryat Shmona.
Wow, nicely done.
It took me a minute. I got the last part, and it's like, okay, how do I run this together? And so biggest thing is just get it all together and slur it and work your way through. Obviously, Darlington retires. Options declined on Derek Jones, Lassie Lapalainen, Abraham Romero, and Net was out of contract. So there isn't a whole lot of absences that you have to fill, and you're getting some back with a healthy Ali. What is the rest of the makeup? You know that moves are coming in, but right now it seems like a fairly stable roster right now.
Oh, it's extremely stable. Yeah. And it's guys who've been together. And, I think that's probably the one regret that we all had about Wilfried leaving now, as opposed to maybe the end of 26. And that was, man, you're going to have these guys together through 26, and it's going to be extraordinary. But unfortunately, that wasn't the thing that came to pass. I think Issa, Mark Nichols, the technical, I'm going to mess up his title.
Grand Exalted Poobah.
Yeah, one of the leadership group, if you will.
Yeah.
I think leadership has done an extraordinary job of building this roster. And I think in large part it was with Wilfried's blessing, but I think also the leadership said, no, this is a player that fits the principles of Columbus Crew soccer. You got the second team and the academy all playing the same way. We want to see more of this, and that's what we're going to sign. So through the end of this year, we've got the Diego Rossi. You've got Wessam Abu Ali for a couple of years. Max Arston's on a new contract. Patrick Schulte signed a big one after 23. Doesn't mean that these guys can't leave, but it does give you some assurances. And in that, we're also going to enjoy, I think, an influx of talent from the academy. One of the things that was a big talking point at the start of 25 was that there is a cluster of young players sitting in the academy, sometimes playing for Crew 2, who are representing the national team on the youth national team level, who are almost ready, but not just yet. And so they'd train with the first team. Yeah, they dressed a couple times with the first team, but they didn't get a lot of first team minutes or any at all. Those guys in the next year are going to flood the roster. And, whether you make money on selling them or you keep them as homegrowns within the club is the decision that Issa is going to have to make. But this is a club set up for success right now. It is a championship caliber roster, in my opinion. And I think they've done a wonderful job with the coaching choice of Rydstrom coming in.
So, and if I've missed anybody, feel free to add to the list. Tristan Brown, Taha Habrun, Stas Lapkis. Who else is on the table that I'm missing?
You hit Tristan. We got Chase Davis or Chase Adams is probably the biggest profile player coming out. We also have a center back who's playing for the academy, who featured for Crew 2 in the Open Cup, was exceptional. The first team's going to play the Open Cup this year, which I'm thrilled about. Love the tournament and love knowing that the first team's back in that. So, I think there are going to be decisions that'll have to be made I think Rydstrom's going to have plenty of time to assess the talent. He's got guys like Federico Higuain, who's coaching crew 2, and Josh Williams, the assistant, who are going to be in his ear about who's ready and who's not. And the club's set up for some really great years ahead. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. By the way, John, I want to make sure you're leaving time in our conversation to talk about the Indiana football team coming to your great city this week. So make sure there's plenty of time for that.
Absolutely. So when does training camp kick in?
Good Lord, I don't know, John. I haven't met the new coach yet, but I imagine it's going to be in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, because I didn't know if there were toe touchies and elastic stretchy moves and things that were going to be done in near form or not. I was just trying to figure out timetables as to when you get acquainted.
Well, for the first time we're not playing in CONCACAF for the first time in a couple of years. So that does not necessarily require that the guys are in any sooner than normal. I do know we're doing a Florida swing and a California swing. If those reports back in the fall have stayed in place, that's what they'll be doing for spring break or for the preseason. Now we do have the bubble. We have historic Crew Stadium, the first soccer specific stadium in the United States, is still obviously in place. Synthetic turf in that stadium. And we put a bubble up during the winter time, and that's where the first team will spend a few days at the start after physicals are done, and then
home of your Columbus Aviators, by the way.
Yes, thank you, God, good for you. and then the guys will head out on their training path before the season starts.
I got to get my Columbus Aviators gear to add to the stacks here and drive the boss crazy. It's like, who are they? It's like
that's funny.
That's the league they're in. Well, I mean, this is your Vegas Vipers, so I mean, it's me in the obscure. I'm like the Saint. What is it? The St. Jude of sports gear. It's like
do you get shipments every week?
I wish. I wait. What I do is I wait until it goes on special. So I'll buy it a year late, or I'll buy
Gotcha.
it. And so it's like 75% off, 80% off, because then I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. You don't like that design. You're changing your design. I'll take the gear at 80% off. If I can buy something that's listed at $100, if I can buy it for 20 and wear it.
Oh my gosh.
Do that.
That is a frugal sports fan right there.
Well, it's a frugal sports fan that ends up buying in bulk and ends up with stacks of gear that, go 19 feet high.
Right.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and discuss. So, are you going to? Where are you going to be watching Indiana football, sir?
In the next room, next to my beautiful wife. It'll be. We flirted with the idea going down. It's only like an 8.5 or 9 hour drive from Columbus. But to be honest with you, the coverage. We don't have the FOMO disease, fear of missing out.
Right.
We don't. We're too old to suffer from that. There are too many other things to be worried about. So we don't mind missing out on that. We have family members who will be down there. Certainly a lot of friends who are going to fill Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I think it'll be great to watch it on TV. The coverage is always extraordinary, as you well know. And my wife is a big fan of the stories surrounding the players. And so it's always nice from week to week to see what they've uncovered. We've all heard, I think we've all heard the stories about Mendoza. We've all heard the stories about Mendoza's family, Kurt Signetti, how he came to IU. The Google Me quote has just gone absolutely over the top. We've heard enough of it. Of course, network television won't agree to that. But the other stories about linebackers and running backs and how it is that they came to settle on a school in Bloomington, Indiana that has never been known for football, not for 50 years. Those are the stories that we love to see. And with all due respect, we'll also watch the stories from the opposing team too, just because they're so well done.
Yeah, and the opposing team, whatever. But I will add this: if you've never listened to Don Fisher, institution, and I mean this in the most fantastic. I think he's like 53 years of calling IU sports.
Yeah.
An absolute legend upon legend upon legend. And so if you have the opportunity to just kind of tune that in, like if you were to mute the other devices and you listened to IU radio, you have to listen to the locals. You really do.
That's a really great plug. Don is a terrific guy. He's extremely gifted in what he does. Obviously part of the gift is having been a steady part of the broadcast team for so long. Calls basketball and football. On some days has been known to call both teams, given the recent success of the football team. There was a time in Bloomington when football season would end, in early November, and that was it. And I'm not exaggerating. Not only did I go there as an undergrad, but I also lived in Bloomington for 30 years. And everything would stop. And it was kind of a downer, but when you think about it, you went into the season knowing you were going to play 3 knockoffs in the early part of the year. And then you were going to be faced with Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, and it was just going to be an 0-4 stretch. My freshman year was the last year that Lee Corso coached.
Oh, wow.
And I was living in Briscoe Quad right next to Memorial Stadium on the day he was fired. And it was a really sad day because he had some time to put his mark on the program. And he was an incredibly charismatic guy, as you can imagine. Carried that over into television, and I'm really happy for him that he was able to extend his career in that way.
And for the record, and I'm sitting here counting just because of one of the other versions of me, and I've counted half a dozen student athletes from the state of Georgia who are on this roster, and that makes 7 now as I get into the 40s. But I mean, you're talking about invading the state of Georgia, the number 3 ranked state in the country when it comes to high school football athletes to the next level. So you're looking at double digits. I'm looking at all these Georgia guys that are playing for IU, and it's like never daunted. There you go. IU. I'm loving it.
Thanks for the plug.
That's what we're here for. What are you up to these days before you get into training camp and probably going to Florida and California and hanging out with folks?
Well, I'd like to be able to do that. I think, a lot has to be sorted out in terms of the roster. And so we're keeping track of what moves are being made. I would imagine that Henrik Rydstrom has got his thumb on the scale now. In terms of what he has reviewed on Columbus Crew tape and what he believes he's going to need to be successful this year. So we'll watch to see what comes from the front office on decisions with talent. I am anticipating, if not by Friday, perhaps early next week, the introductory press conference. We'll get to hear Rydstrom talk about, the process, how he ended up in Columbus, and what he expects to be able to accomplish. I think the guys turned around really quickly. One of the benefits, honestly, of Wilfried Nancy not being in Celtic is the fact that we don't have to worry about losing any players from this roster in the January window.
Steven Marrero sitting there at Old Firm. They had the shot of him up in the crowd.
Bro, I was like, my heart was in my throat when I saw that. I could not believe it, man. And he was clearly not supposed to be seen there, but they figured it out. I mean, that was really impressive stuff. So, anyway, we got the World Cup this year. We got guys vying for men's national team positions. Max Arfston, Patrick Schulte, Sean Sawatsky could get another look. We're going to keep an eye on Aiden Morris and Sebastian Berhalter because those guys are academy kids who would love to see end up with Mauricio Pochettino. On the side, you've got Steven Marrero, who's going to play with Cape Verde. We would certainly expect. And so there's a lot. You got the Verde. There you go. That's sharp. Good Lord. Look at you. It's signed.
No, that's the geography jersey.
Oh yeah. Little tiny island nation, as they say.
Yes. And so, yeah, when Cabo Verde came online and they could sell these things, I was like, yep, jumping on that. So there you go. Yep.
That's fantastic. So, one of the things that Issa Tall did before he became a general manager, before he worked in the league, was he worked with FIFA. And our general manager at that time was, among other things, helping to arrange home bases for teams that went to the World Cup. So he is very much aware of what FIFA looks for when teams are shopping for a home base in the country that's hosting the World Cup. And so while he's building our roster and he's found our head coach, one of the things he's also working on with his team is making sure Columbus is presented in the most desirable way to meet FIFA's needs and get a club here in Columbus during the World Cup as a home base.
Yep.
And so that's a real exciting time for us, because Columbus, among other things, does a really nice job of welcoming and putting their arms around movements or people or ideas that make perfect sense. And the soccer community will absolutely do that to whatever team ends up in Columbus during the summer.
Can't wait. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Great to catch up and get our progress reports. I felt like I needed a local oracle so I could vent my spleen again when it came to Wilfred getting screwed. And gave me the chance to get an update on Rydstrom and everything else that's going on up there. You can come and crash at any time, and we can talk about how many marriages the Gabor sisters have had.
I'm so sorry we led with that.
Whatever. Look, it's a morning show. Who cares? So we found out that one marriage lasted 1 day and got annulled of her 9. That's fantastic. So technically 8, but she was married 9 times. You're the man. Go get your breakfast. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you, John. Have a great week.